Can you hear
Awesome.
me? Okay.
Yes. All right. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of It's Personal. I always say this, and again, selfishly, I can pick whoever I want to come on the podcast. I am super excited for my guest today. I want to share my love for her writing, but I'll do that later. But first, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. I'm Betty C. Tang. So I'm an author and an illustrator. I started as an animator, and then I became an illustrator, and now I have my first graphic novel called Parachute Kids, and soon book two is coming out in April. So yeah, so that's who I am. I live in Los
Awesome.
Angeles.
Awesome. Betty, your work is so inspirational, so beautiful. And as an educator, I'm so thankful for the work that you do for children, for teachers, for parents, for the community. I have been a fan for a very, very long time. I teach second and third grade. So it's right in that age group where they can read some books that are relatively like grade six or middle school, etc. And they've been a huge influence in my classroom. So again, I appreciate you. I just want to share that now because sometimes, it's nice to share, give someone their flowers, right? Right now and here while we're here. So I want to just thank you so much for the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much, Gary. I mean,
Yeah.
this is great that this is a great service you're doing, and you're an educator. You are the beacon of light for these young
Oh,
minds. So thank you.
thank you. So I always ask this question to start off, and I think it's always so interesting to hear different points of view. So if you don't mind, can you tell me what was it like to be little Betty growing up um, in a community with family, etc.? What did it look like for you?
Well, I grew up in Taiwan, Taipei, Taiwan. So, I, to tell you the truth, I'm one of those people, unfortunately, don't have very clear memories of their childhood. Some people are very lucky; they remember when they were very little.
Hmm.
I actually I have spots of great memories and of course scary ones. But I think I was overall a kind of a naive kid who just loved reading mangas.
Mm-hmm.
I would get my Lunar New Year money and my allowances. I would spend it all on mangas, and that's like
Hmm.
ignited my love for drawing.
Wow. Wow.
So and I was a bookworm in that sense, and I ruined my eyes. So I wore like big glasses when I was like 6 years old, first grade, and I remember being made fun of because I was spending evenings in at night when light's supposed to go out. I was like reading mangas under my covers with a flashlight. It totally ruined my eyes.
Oh,
That's
wow.
the kind of kid I was.
Wow. And Betty, how did your upbringing influence your artistic style and like themes and illustrations? Like, did you have people in your family that were artistic? How did that happen?
Yeah, my mom actually is a great Chinese Chinese painting artist, and unfortunately, she didn't pursue it because she brought us to the United States, and that kind of ended her inspiration and aspiration to become a Chinese painting artist, and so I guess I got it from her. And my I have two sisters, and one of my sister was also very good at drawing. I remember we used to get together and create little mangas ourselves. So I think we're all kind of artistic.
Mm, I love that. I love that. And would you say, growing up at a young age, you often face like so many sets of challenges, especially you saying that like you moved from Taiwan, which we love. My wife and I have traveled to Taipei a few times, which we really enjoyed. What are some of the obstacles that you faced early on? And not necessarily through like the art, but just like moving from a place like Taiwan to America.
Well, I think any immigrant would tell you it's a language barrier. I think that
Mm,
is the hardest thing because, um, I mean, I touched upon a little bit in my book, Parachute Kids, and in the beginning. The book is fiction because I think what my life wasn't that interesting. And so I wanted to embellish a little bit, include a lot of other people's experiences, other immigrants' experiences. So it's fiction. But there is definitely a piece of me in there, especially at the beginning of the main character, the Funny, the 10-year-old, and her experience of starting school in America, right? Not knowing a word of English, and it was absolutely my experience where I was we went to Thousand Oaks, Ventura County, which is a predominantly white community, I think.
Hmm.
And so I was sat next to this one Chinese girl. This, I think, the only Chinese girl. They put me next to her because I didn't know English, and so they thought she would take care of me. But then I was popular for about maybe 5 minutes, and I remember inching up to the kids who are showing each other like new stickers, and I looked down, and they're kind of like, you know, go
Wow.
away. So that's the hardest thing, right? For any kid, not just immigrant kids, moving from state to state, just city to city, just go to a new school. It's always a scary, horrible first day experience now. And so
Hmm.
that, I think that was the hardest part, just making friends.
Yeah. And you know what's so interesting? Like making friends at a young age is it can be so difficult. I
Yeah.
think I teach second grade right now, and I feel like it's a little bit easier when you're little. If you come from a different place outside of like the rest of your community at that school, it can be a little bit different. But as you get to middle school and high school, I find with students, they become a little bit more self conscious, a little bit more anxiety driven, and it's so hard to connect. It's so hard to connect with people because you don't want to be judged. You want to come off with a first impression. So I hear you when you say going into like that new space and how it can be so difficult to just make a connection. Let alone even, I don't know. Did you find there were people that look like you in those schools? Probably not, right? Probably not very many. And I felt like that as well. So I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get it.
I mean, granted, there are people who are their kids are very welcoming, but then the problem is that they weren't mean. And I don't think they were mean. It was
Hmm.
just that they didn't know any better. It's like, because I couldn't communicate. And so, of course, if you're 10 years old, right,
I
and
know.
you're not going to like go out of your way and try to make someone understand you. And so you
Hmm.
go off to your own thing, right? So
Exactly.
you run off.
Exactly.
So you're left. So as a newcomer, you're left behind. You don't understand what's happening, and you don't know how to break that barrier
Hmm.
and making friends. And it's not really their fault either. They just have nothing to say to you because you
Yeah.
can't communicate.
Yeah, I totally agree. Betty, I want to ask you a question about how because I think you do this so well. How do you incorporate like your background into your work, and specifically like the elements of like your stories that feel like essential to like your identity? How are they like? I think Parachute Kids is such a great example of that. How do you take your culture, your background, and incorporate that into the work that you do?
That is such a good question. It is kind of interesting when I'm asked questions like this because to me, it just came naturally
Hmm.
because that is just a process of storytelling. I think what it is that I really had to. Um, I mean, I have a general idea of the story plot and the storyline, right? But it's like this main direction, but then you got to fill in the pieces to make the story interesting to carry it from the beginning to the end. And as I write, and these ideas, little pieces, I want to make sure that they are authentic to my or like other people that I've talked with who are kind enough to share their experiences with me. I
Hmm.
want to make sure those experiences that I'm fictionalizing is authentic and honest, right? And so um, from there, it's like a springboard to events that happen
Hmm.
that carry the story through. I don't know if I'm making
You
sense.
are. No,
Mm,
you are. And I love that their first response about like you just because it's your lived experience and it feels like, well, I don't know your whole story, but I've read Parachute Kids. Like I can tell that it's rooted in stories or experiences from yourself or from other people, because it's so specific and the images really put you in. Like, I feel like I'm right along with the characters, which is not easy to do for illustrators or authors. So I can just tell, like, those are experiences that have happened, that you've either experienced yourself or someone else has experienced as well. So I think you do that so well.
Oh,
I think
thank you
you
so
do that
much.
so well. Yeah, yeah. Betty, what do you like to do for fun? Because I know that as an illustrator, you guys work so hard. You work so hard, and on top of that, author, illustrator, like, it takes so long to create stuff, art in general. What do you do to not necessarily balance that? Because I think it's okay that people have different types of balance in their life, and that may look different for different people. What do you do for fun outside of the drawing, the reading, etc.?
Oh, yeah. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for acknowledging and for pointing out how long it takes. And this can probably, if there are little readers out there who's like, why is book two taking so long to come out? That is why it took about over a year to make Parachute Kids, and
Wow.
so it takes, and then it takes about another 6 to 9 months for publishers to crank it out onto and distribute it onto the bookshelf. So
Hmm.
that's why. And 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 so so and then segueing from that, I so busy drawing and writing, I really don't have any time for fun. I used to play the piano to help me relax, but then now I kind of given that up because when you draw so much, it gives my hand sometimes cramps up, and then playing piano is supposed to maybe loosen it up, but on the contrary, it actually strains it even more. So I kind of gave that up, unfortunately. Oh, that's not what you want to hear. Um, I read. Sometimes I play a little bit of video game, which is actually probably not very good either because I need to give my eyes some rest, which I don't do that either. So that question is a dud.
Betty, what video games do you play?
Oh, I was my brother got me turned on to this Genshin Impact.
Uh-huh. Oh,
It's
that's
one of
awesome.
those games, that online games that people either love or hate, and so I just thought it's the world that the game created, that the
Uh-huh.
creators created, are just it's just so vast, and I was just kind of
Hmm.
impressed by it.
Hmm.
Anyways, but I lately I haven't had time to play that either, so it's just been kind of busy.
Do you get inspiration from playing those games, or is it more of just for you to numb out, kind of relax a little bit?
I'm a very competitive person, so it's not normal. It's just like, so the games, I have a goal and I need to reach it.
I love that. I love that. Vinny, I want to talk a little bit more about Parachute Kids.
Hmm.
Just looking in the back, I knew this because I watched, but you have a nice shiny sticker on Parachute Kids.
Yes, this one.
This one, yes. Can you tell us about it? Tell us about Parachute Kids. Tell us about the sticker, and how did this story like come about?
Um, well, first of all, let me show you. So this sticker is American Library Association. Let me see a little shiny sticker. So it's given to me by the American Library Association. It's like Children's Literature Award honor book, and it's the Asian Pacific American Library
Yay!
Association. I want to make sure that I don't misrepresent misspoke of what the award. So I wanted to. Um. So yeah, it came as a utter surprise. So it's such an honor to be recognized this way, because as you know, American Library Association is huge, and they're like the 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 gatekeeper to all the brilliant little minds that are eager to learn, right? And so
Mhm.
to be recognized by them is really such a honor. Um, uh, so you were asking how the book came about,
Yeah, how
or
did the book come about?
oh, okay. So so the book just came out by a conversation I had with someone. I was just telling someone about my experience as a parachute kid. No, because I came also when I was about 10 years old, and my parents brought us, and so I was just telling the story, and then the person saying, "Oh, you should write a book." I'm like,
Hmm.
there must be stories about parachute kids, and it's like, and who wants to know about my experience, right? It's just to me, it's just a common experience. It's just a experience, right? And
Hmm.
an experience, and so I didn't think much of it, and but then started doing a little bit of research, and I realized that other than Kellyanne's book Parachutes, I don't think there was another book about parachute kids. And but then that is for that's for young adults, so
Hmm.
it deals more with a more serious topic. But for middle grade and lower, there's nothing.
Hmm.
So I'm like, well, and then I think I was meant to write this book
I agree.
because the whole process was so smooth. I wrote the
Mm.
manuscript in within like 3 months, and
Wow.
it really got acquired by Scholastic. It was, and everybody was excited about it, and then the whole process was just like it was, I don't know, blessed.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, and that's how it came about. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Do you feel like you are like Jackie when you were younger or someone else?
No, Jackie is like so we're talking about Jackie Haha, which is this book. Jackie Haha, and it's written by James Patterson and Chris Grabenstein. And originally, it's a middle grade novel, but they decided to turn it into a graphic novel, and so this worked out. But Jackie is such a outgoing, um, comedic and sharp witted kid,
Hmm.
and that's definitely not me. I'm kind of the opposite, I think.
And then the other question that we had, and I just asked some
Mhm.
people online, they were asking about Bryden and what was the inspiration behind him?
Oh, Braden is actually inspiration is Braden himself. Actually, Braden is Harrington.
Hmm.
Braden is
Bryden.
a young boy who had I guess his mom calls it a bumpy speech, so he stutters. So it's always been a source of his embarrassment and frustration and difficulty. And one day he met President Biden,
Hmm.
and then President Biden pulled him aside and gave him a lot of encouragement and tips. And so that was his experience. And then he was actually um, invited to make a speech during the inauguration.
Wow.
Uh, and so I think, I mean, there's like yeah. I guess I thought there was a photo in here. I guess not, but it was really really cool. So they wanted to do a picture book about it, so to
Wow.
inspire other kids who may have the same bumpy speech.
Yeah. Wow. Do you find like do you have picture books, novels? Do you have a preference?
Um, Not really. Picture books is I Picture books are much faster to make for me.
Hmm.
So in that sense, it's a little bit easier to work on. Graphic novel, I love graphic novel because you can really get into the nitty gritty and work on the expression, and you can really tell a story and with emotion, full impact of emotion, and with dialogue. So, but it just takes so long to make. And in America and in US, they're putting out graphic novel in full color because
Hmm.
middle graders, they're expecting full color, and that just takes so much longer. I think the mangas and the Asian ones where with it was black and white, it's
Yeah.
easier. It makes more sense and less expensive to make.
Yeah.
I wish they would consider it, but they for the most part want color. To just
It's
take forever.
and yeah, it takes I can't even imagine how long how many hours
And
illustrating.
my style is very very simple in comparison because
Mm,
I had a background in animation, and so my drawing tends to be a little bit more cartoony and simple color shapes and some shading. But I've seen graphic novels that is like every panel is like a masterpiece. I'm like, oh, you just like, oh my gosh, that's
it's a
crazy.
lot. It's
It's
a lot.
a
It's a
lot.
lot. And I guess I kind of assume that as well. I just know that
Amazing though.
with picture books, yes, there's obviously X amount of pages. Whereas if it's a graphic novel, it's so many pages and it's word placement. It's all these different things that you have to really intentionally think about. And I know there's a team that helps with those things as well, but like it just takes so much effort and time. I can't remember who I was talking to. I think it might have been Jerry Craft a long time ago. And he
Mm.
just said he just would spend days just sitting home editing and just trying to like complete certain chapters. And I can only imagine how, how difficult that could be because life is still happening as well, right? But at the same time, you have deadlines, you have other projects, etc. So
Mhm.
I appreciate you. I really
Oh,
do. I
thank you.
appreciate you. I appreciate you,
It's
Betty.
all
Can
good.
you?
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Can,
mean, I guess the only thing I wanted to add is that, oh, I guess I lost the train of thought. Oh, that's all right. Let's continue.
it's okay. Was it about the process, or maybe about how much effort had to be put
Oh,
in?
no, I think, oh, I came back to it now because it takes so long, right? And so because Jackie Haha was my first graphic novel. And I remember right after it came out, I had kids who approached me and says, oh, I loved it so much. I read it in one day. And I'm thinking, it took me 1 year to make it. You read it in one day. At first, like, I was kind of like upset about it. And then I was like, please slow down. And then I realized that they do read it over and over and over and over again. I had one kid who told me that he's read it like Parachute Kiss 10 times,
See,
and it and then I do realize later it's like it's a compliment
it
because
is.
that means the book is engaging enough that they just keep turning the pages and wanting to get to the end. So I'm grateful. So that's not a complaint. So please read on. I hope book two is just as engaging for you.
And that's the thing with kids, right? Like when they love something, they love it deeply. So like that's such a
Mm,
testament to who you are as a writer, where this kid has already read it once, goes back and reads it nine more times. Like that's what you
mm.
want kids to do. Read it again, pass it to a friend. That friend reads it, pass it to a friend. Like that's what we want kids to be doing in the classroom, at home, etc. So again, it's a testament to the hard work that you put in. What does your process look like? Because graphic novels again are very different than picture books. What does your process look like from beginning to end?
I Well, so I start on the ones that I write myself. Then it also begins with a script and an idea and a script. I would do a basic outline. I'm an outliner, so I know how I want to begin. I know where I want it to, how I want it to end. It's always the journey in the middle part that's very challenging because sometimes it just trips you up, and sometimes as you start writing, it just completely derails you.
Mm,
It's kind of magical because once the characters start to appear on the pages as you write, it just like takes over sometimes. And the dialogue just pours out of their mouths and you're like,
yeah.
did I think about that or did they? It's just like magical. And and then it takes you to a complete different direction. So it's like I keep saying the word magical, but it is kind of like that because it has a mind of its own, and then sometimes you don't quite know what may come up to give you more ideas. So it's
Mm,
really fun that way. And so after I complete the script, it goes to the editor. I have a great editor. Her name is Tracy Mack, and she works so well with me, and she will come back with, she never dictates what she wants, but she always suggests and make me think deeper and harder to get more nuances out of the characters and the plot line. So that's like
mm,
a great partnership. So if you ever any aspiring writers out there, you want to find people who complements you, and not ones who tell you what to do, but the ones who can help you bounce back ideas to allow you to expand more.
Mm-hmm.
And so after the script is greenlit, I get into like the rough sketches. I do a what I call my vomit stage. I don't dwell very much on the very, very rough. It's like this. It's from my animation days that we used to use like a blue pencil, and then we sketch out, the roughs, and then that's what I do. I just like this is my blue vomits, and I would just take maybe 5-10 minutes on each page panel, and I would just like quickly doodle out the panels, the placement, the direction, and rough bubbles, and most I would throw in hard is the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is super super rough because I don't want to spend so much time and effort on this stage, right? I want to make sure that and I would do it scene by scene, a sequence by sequence, and I want to make sure that it flows. And if I go back and it's like, okay, it makes sense, then I will go in and do a clean up pencil version of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I will repeat this for the entire book.
Wow.
And because of the ones that I wrote myself, when I write, I pretty much have it all visualized. So every panel is already in my head. So I'm actually sometimes finding it difficult to find the words to describe what I have in my mind. So the editor can read it to understand what I'm trying to convey. And then after that, um, it goes back to the publisher again, and they approve the roughs. And of course, there's always changes, which is good because change is always an opportunity to improve, right? But if it gets approved, then I start inking and then coloring.
Wow.
Sometimes certain publishers, depending on the publisher, they may want to see an inking pass too before you go on to color to make sure everything's fine, because once it's all colored, it just takes so much effort to change it, right? And so you want to make sure every stage there's an approval stage and everybody is on the same page before you move on to the next, because changing things is just expensive and time consuming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And after that, and then the publisher has designers who design the covers, and they design the inserts and the whole package. And so after I hand in the interior art, they're still working on it. So it's an
Wow.
incredible process.
Wow. That is, I mean, it's so interesting because you, I, for me, I saw the back end a little bit of Oge Mora's pictures for my book. And then I saw like the actual copy of the book. And then I went into the office and I got to see her actual paintings. So it's so interesting that it's like you finish the work and then it still goes off and there's more work that needs to be done on the back end, whether it's like your publisher to make it into a book. Like it's still, you feel like you're done, but then it's like, oh, just wait. There's way more, there's lots of other steps left. And I think that's what I try to explain to my kids a lot in the classroom. It's like the book in itself takes so long because there's so many different steps. And I try to use that as much as possible when we're talking about like publishing their own writing or publishing a piece of art in the classroom. Like it's okay to revise all the time. Like revising is such a metaphor for life in general. Just like the more you revise, the better, hopefully, something will become. And it sounds like you've kind of mastered that. What do you feel? And I was going to ask you, like, what are some of the challenges that you faced along that journey? And it sounds like it sounds like you've kind of figured out a way to deal with those things. But is there anything specifically along your journey, challenge wise, that has like been not difficult, but has influenced your journey when it comes to creating art?
I think the most challenging thing is staying on schedule,
Mm,
because you have this deadline, and then you wanted to put a goal for a target for yourself of how many pages you need to do per day in order to get to the end on time. Because um, publishing is such a um, a look ahead kind of a thing, because they say, okay, this book is coming out in 2 years, and so you got to deliver by year and a half into it at the latest. And so because they need at least 6 months to print it, right? And now they print it overseas, and then once it's printed, they have to come back to the US and distribute worldwide, right? And that I think that's the hardest challenge. It's not a very interesting thing to talk about, but it is important. It's life, right? You have to figure out how to meet your deadlines and to deliver things, being organized. But I really liked what you said earlier about not fearing changes. Can I expand a little bit on that? I think I
Oh,
talked a little bit
please.
about it, but I think that is so great you tell your students, because I know that when I first started, as artists, we're all insecure. No matter how successful you are, you have this imposter syndrome that's continuously following you. Doesn't matter if this shiny sticker is here or not. I still like, I feel like I'm a fraud, right? And so it just, maybe it's a good thing for young readers to know that insecurity will always be with you. But sometimes, we can't do things alone. And so when the team comes together, you have people who you trust to give you advice or give you tips. Take them. The critiques is not a bad thing. Critique is, I mean, it's different when somebody gives you feedback and somebody actually, I take that back. Not critique. Well, I guess critique too. I think there's a difference between feedback and criticism. Criticism is the one I was using.
Agreed.
Criticism sometimes is completely useless because somebody just want to, like, I don't like this color, but that is subjective, right? That's something that you don't like, but it's nothing wrong with the color I pick. I like red. You might like green, but there's nothing wrong with that. But it's the feedback what I love, because feedback is also subjective, but feedback is something that as constructive feedback is something that you can work from. You can, when the editor gives me something, I usually would just really consider it as the direction that they're suggesting. And if I feel like it will enhance and make the story better, well, you bet I'm gonna grab it. Right? Why not? It's free advice. And then I would change my story too. But if I strongly feel like it changes the essence of my drawing, of my story, with the direction of it, I would say no, right? And so that is just a great um, symbiotic and partnership, I
Love
think.
that. I love that so much. And it goes back to it reminds me so much of my students and how important it is for me as an educator to tell them exactly that. Like, there's a difference between criticism and feedback. Like, they're only 7 years old. And I think feedback is something they're becoming used to. But if you can somehow help them understand that that feedback is there as an option. Like, you have ownership of your writing. Yes, 100%. I am providing feedback to enhance that if you want to, but it is your choice ultimately because it belongs to you. And I think it's, again, they're young, so that concept of feedback is still very hard for them, but just giving them opportunities to say yes or no, right?
Mhm.
I think that can be so so powerful, and that means teachers, editors, authors have to have some sort of relationship of trust as well,
Yes.
right? So I feel like I don't know who your editor is, but I feel like because of the relationship, because of the trust involved, of course you're going to consider it, right? Of course you're going to think about it. Whereas if that relationship was not good, like also in the classroom, you're already resistant before the feedback even comes in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're already resistant. Yeah, I love
Very
that, but
well.
I think that is so amazing, and I love hearing authors talk about their process because everyone has a different process.
Mhm.
Everyone talks about how they create differently, and I just appreciate that. I really really appreciate that. But I have one more question for you. Okay, just looking ahead, what are some messages or themes do you hope to explore with future projects? Um, and maybe you may not have an answer for that, and that's totally okay. But what are your thoughts around that, and how do you envision your work, contributing to like identity, culture, etc.?
Um. Yeah, I've been there. So I'm not sure if I should say this, but why not? So Parachute Kids actually is going to be a trilogy. So there is a book 3 that it's
Oh
currently
my
in the
gosh.
works.
Really?
So yeah, I'm really sure about it. I can think it's okay because well, the book is book 2, Outsider Kids, is called Outsider Kids. That's coming out in April, Tax Day of American Tax Day, April 15th, and I guess I can say it because in the back of the book it says that book 3 is coming. So I guess I can. You're the first to know.
Yay.
And then and so after after I wrap up with Parachute Kids series, I will have to give it. I would like to venture out a little bit. I don't want to be doing the um, same type of story. I
Mm.
think I would like to. I always aim story that had depth and layers and hidden messages. I don't like to be hitting people right on the nail. Excuse me. I don't like to hit people over the head with a certain message. I like that when a reader reads, they discover those messages themselves. So I like to put a lot of stuff. I would like to try a sci-fi. I
Ooh.
would love to do a sci-fi
Oh.
comedy, kind of a funny fantasy world that has a lot of heart.
Hmm.
If but my biggest fear is that after this, I hope I'm not pigeonholed
Yeah.
to because now they look at me as a writer of this genre, right? And serious writing and immigration stories and stuff, which is all important, but I think we need some laughter in the life.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think I had this conversation with my editor as well, and one of the things she said is like, you should be able to explore every bit of who you are as a creator in these spaces, and that that is something that belongs to you. Like, you shouldn't have to write about one specific theme your entire career. Right? Like, it's just it shouldn't be something that authors or illustrators have to tie themselves down to. So I would love for you to do something with sci-fi. I think you would be good so good at. I think you because in Parachute Kids, I think you build a world that is so real. I mean, with the words, with the images, sci-fi can, I mean, you have no limits. You could do anything.
Right. And I understand that I think because yeah, publishing had very limited resources, right? And so and it's a business. They want to be able to sell books, and so it's a big risk, I guess. So I understand if it's a hard sell, but we'll see.
We
That
will.
might
We
go
will.
after I'm done with Parachute Kids. I might just hop onto something, you know,
I love that.
tactical.
Yeah, I love that. Bay, where can people find you online?
My website is bettyctang.com. So it's my full name, BETTYCTANG.com. And you can find me on Instagram as well. That is also BTTC, Betty C. Tang is my handle. So
Awesome. And can you remind those who don't know, what's the date for the second book?
second book is called Outsider Kids because at one time or another, we've all felt a little bit like an outsider, right? No matter how much you try to belong, feel a little bit not quite belonging. And it's coming out April 15th.
Wow.
In a few months.
It's soon.
Yeah, something to look forward to on Day.
Yes. Thank you, Betty. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I
Thank you, Gary.
appreciate the conversation. This was awesome. Thank you.
It has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Let's